Oh dear. So yeah, I wanted to do it that way. So basically, as of next week, I was going to do it this week, but I didn't quite get it organised in time. So as of next week, I'm going to be doing my lives through StreamYard. So it'll look a bit fancier. Just have my logo on the page and stuff. So, and they'll be in landscape rather than portrait, so they'll look better on YouTube, because I'm going to put them through to YouTube. Hi, Nessima. So yeah, I thought I'd try my phone doing it live that way, but it looked awful, and I was like looking like this at the camera, which is weird. So as of next week, that will be the case. You will need to also sign up, register to say that I can see your name when it comes up on the comments as well, when it's on StreamYard. But that will be next week, so don't worry about it. Right. Let me get... Nessima, can you just say... Oh, that's what I was saying. Can you just say hey so you can see in the comments? I can see them. Hey. Okay, right. So, let me just get my notes. So, hi Laura. How are you? Okay. So, I am talking tonight about... I'm going to put it all together. So I'm talking about conditioning. And so let me just give you the context of that. So everything that I do around, the main component to the thing that got me into wanting to talk about success in all its forms is the reality that, and tied into the belief that, so my belief, as you know, is that our desires are given to us, right? So why would we wouldn't have them if they weren't meant for us? Like, I think that's why the human race has been such a successful species, because Henry Ford, for example, had a desire in him to create a fast motor car. Edison had the desire to create light. All the things that we can see and touch and feel, and everything tangible in our world has been created from desire. And so think about that. Like, everybody has individual desires. Everybody wants different things. Everybody's passionate about different things, or they're passionate about the same thing but in a different way. So I really believe it. Like, it's a real core belief that our desires are given to us. And so if we can see them in our mind's eye and we can visualize it, then it's already ours. But here's the snag, here's the catch. We have to get out of our own way, because the conditioning that we gather, and that's from, we can look at ancestral wounds, things that have been passed down culturally, all these things that affect our belief in our ability to be, do, have the thing. And so at the moment, actually on Thursday this week, I shall be doing my human design alchemy. Hi, Kerry! Yay! So on Thursday this week at 11 o'clock, I will be doing my human design alchemy assessment, which basically, and I love it because alchemy in human design is basically looking at, so human design is meant to be empowering. There's a lot of disempowering narratives and interpretations of human design online. And when I look at my process of positive human design, bringing PQ, positive intelligence, and human design together, the reason it's like a double meaning, because yes, it's positive intelligence and human design, therefore positive human design, but also it's looking at human design in a completely empowering way, that everything about your chart, everything about you as a human, those two things are the same thing, everything about you, there is an empowered way to look at it. And so in human design alchemy, we look at the feminine and masculine archetypes. And the feminine and masculine archetypes in human design, so the empowered feminine is the queen energy, and the empowered masculine is the warrior energy. I'll go through those in a minute. And then your disempowered feminine is the victim, and your disempowered masculine is the bully. And so when you look at the victim, so the victim energy complains a lot. Like, why does this always happen to me? And so if we think about PQ, our victim saboteur in our PQ, if that's pretty high in your saboteur list, then this is something you'll relate to. And let me just caveat this whole conversation There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with it. It is just awareness, which is what we're going to get to in a bit. So the victim archetype believes everything's happening to her. She questions her value. She trades her worth. So this is like, excuse the language, but this sort of prostitute energy. We trade our worth, except we don't value it, so we trade it for things that maybe don't serve us. I don't mean literally being a prostitute, you know what I mean. Gives up or insists on doing it all herself, refuses to accept help, doesn't receive well, is blocked off from receiving, and is all this martyr energy about her, right? And we have all, like, victim in my saboteur list is like second to bottom. That does not mean that I don't have moments where it raises its head. So the disempowered feminine in our human design is the victim. The disempowered masculine is the bully, which in PQ would relate to the judge. So pushes for more action. You've got to do more in order to be valuable. Judges worth by money. Well, I'm only worthy if I'm earning this amount. I'm only worthy if, I'm less capable and less worthy if I'm not earning as much as she is over there. A lot of comparison. Wastes a lot of time, constantly feeling like they're running out of time. Insist that you don't know enough, have enough, are enough. Like, it's very much the not enoughness. Hey, Sophie! And fights to win. It's like a very, very competitive. The queen energy, so we look at the empowered feminine. She knows her power. So if you think about the queen, queen, we're using that word and it's got that sort of like, yes, vibes. But think about a queen, like an actual queen. A queen asks for what she wants, and fucking everybody, gets their shit together in order for her to receive it. Like, queen energy, like, they decree, this is what I desire. And we're not talking about sort of modern day queens now, like, not that we have one anymore, bless her, but the point is, when you think about, Elizabeth I, or, this queen energy, I decree what I want. So she knows her power. She embraces her strengths. She decrees her desires. She goes, this is what I desire. There's no apology. There's no, is it okay if I have it? Bullshit. There's no apology. It's just, this is what I desire. And when we think about, an actual queen in relation to what we're talking about is the universe, source, whatever it is. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want. I don't apologize for it. This is what I want. Can everyone just get in line and make sure that happens, right? She upholds her standards. She has standards and she upholds them. She doesn't apologize for that either. She values her worth. She leans back to receive. She's a great receiver. She doesn't trade her worth. She trusts. She has huge faith, and she allows herself to feel. So if we look at that queen, that very strong, empowered feminine energy, that's the queen, compared to the victim, which is that disempowered feminine energy. And then the warrior. So if you think about how the judge and the victim, so let's just relate to PQ for a minute. If you look at how the judge and the victim tag team off each other, you're not enough, oh no, I'm not enough, like that vibe that's tag teaming. So if we're in that energy, if we're in the bully and the victim, or the judge and the victim, to relate the two together, if we're in that energy, it's not a vibe. Like, it's just not a vibe. But if we think about the queen and then the warrior, which is the really empowered masculine, whenever I think about this, I always think of like the women in Game of Thrones, like, the sort of warrior women in Game of Thrones, like, so commits no matter what. So when you think about the queen decrees, that queen energy, that empowered feminine energy decrees what it wants, the warrior makes it happen. So it commits no matter what, takes aligned action, there's my phrase, takes aligned action, doesn't sit on her backside. The queen's not sit on her backside, she's putting it out there. The warrior energy makes it happen, deeply connected to purpose. It's not about the money. It's not about anything other than impact or experience or connection or purpose or alignment. That's what matters. One of my phrases that my human design coach always says is impact over income. Like, what do you want to do in the world? What impact do you want to make in the world? The income will come. The impact has to be first, right? Makes it happen, works with the universe, works in conjunction with the universe, works with the energy of that, follows the aligned action, doesn't question the intuitive nudge, doesn't question the alignment, this feels good, this feels exciting to me, so I'm going to follow it and trust, right? Knows how to use energy to create, knows how to flow with things, right? So when we think about these two things, you've got the queen and the warrior and the victim and the bully. This is about us recognizing, so we're talking about conditioning tonight for those who've just joined. When we're looking at this victim and bully side, we've all got it. We're all human. I did a program called Seven, which looks at basically, in order to feel really whole, you have to love and witness and be okay with your whole self. That's the bits of you that can be a bitch, the bits that you can be judgmental, the bits of you that can be selfish in the negative, in that horrible way, or can, judgmental really, I think, comes down to the whole thing. But it's being okay with all those bits. And so when we look at these two, the feminine and the masculine, we've got to know that I am going to be here sometimes because I'm a human being. And your conditioning, which I'll come to in a minute, your conditioning has created the perspective that you look through. So it's not about balance, it's more about harmony. So an awareness that sometimes I'm this, but I'm always looking to come back to. So in human design, we call that come back to sovereignty, like come back to the empowered version. So one of the best things best questions that I always ask myself when I'm feeling in victim or bully energy, in that sort of disempowered state, is where's your power? Like, where is your power? It's in here. It's not external. It's not related to a man or a woman or another person or amount of money. It's not related to that. It's not external. It's from an internal place. Like, where's my power? How am I giving my power away in this situation to this person, to this circumstance, to this event, to this a number in my bank account, right? So empowerment is a spectrum. And every time you claim your desire, you invite the whole spectrum, right? So when you say, I want to be earning 10 grand a month, let's just use money as an example because it's an easy one to use. When we decree that, when we say that, we are inviting in the other side. Because if you are going to be okay with this, you've got to be okay with this. Everything is two things. Everything is one end of the stick or the other. Everything, night and day, light and dark, everything. So if you're wanting this, you've got to be okay with the darker side to it. You've got to go, okay, if I decree that this is the amount of money I want to earn, this is the place I want to go, this is the experience I want to have, then you are inviting in your saboteurs. You are inviting in everything in your human experience that says, but you can't have that. And you've got to the skill here and the empowerment here is being able to invite it in, sit it the fuck down, and be able to go, I hear you, I see you, I move anyway, right? So everything is disempowerment or empowerment. It's not bad or good. It's not positive, negative in the context of what we're talking about. It's empowered or disempowered. Am I thinking disempowering thoughts? Or am I thinking empowering thoughts? And this is why the PQ really comes into the thought section of what we're talking about, because it allows us to really beautifully identify the specific voices that show up because of our conditioning. So and what also we can do as well, what I want to make a note, because for those of you that aren't massively into human design, I hear people say, for example, I can't focus, so I've got a defined head, defined ajna. Oh, I can't focus because I've got an open head or an open ajna. So we don't want to replace conditioning with new conditioning. It's bullshit. Like, if anyone says to you, oh, you can't do that because of this, because of human design, it's bullshit. It's a misinterpretation. Everything in your chart, everything in your design, everything in your energy is a beautiful gift, and which aligns with the sage perspective in PQ, which is there a gift and opportunity in 99% of situations. That every challenge that comes to us, there is something in it that is a gift or opportunity, and that gift might not be pleasant, but somewhere in there is it might be just, it helps you build resilience, it helps you become more, it gives you wisdom, it gives you experience, it gives you depth, like whatever. It doesn't have to be like something tangible as in external to us, it's an internal shift. So when we look at I'm not going to go too much into that because that's a bit too HD. Let's talk about conditioning. So when we look at conditioning as the layers of it. So when I used to talk about, hi Angela, when I used to talk about this in my my onion, for those that have been around me long enough, my onion was personal circumstances, social conditioning, global conditioning. Well, when we're talking about this, it's very similar, but we're looking at experiences, culture, and perspective, because everything that happens for us, everything that happens in our lives, we see through the lens of our own perspective, and that perspective is built by our experiences, our culture, our conditioning is how we see the world. And so if you are constantly, and if that comes from a very disempowered place, then it means that, the way I used to describe this, and I'll repeat it because it's a good analogy. You could, if you've got two twins and they go to the same party, and one sees the world through a very empowered lens, and the other one sees it through a very disempowered lens, or a positive, negative lens, whatever, if it makes more sense to you, then the disempowered, negative viewpoint would be they should walk into the party and see the couple arguing in the corner, the red wine on the cream carpet, the glass smashed, somebody crying in a corner, because the perspective of how they view the world, your brain will look for things to prove you right. It's called your reticular activating system at the front. So if you are, it's part of your frontal lobe. So if you are the person that looks through that kind of lens, that's the things you see. On the flip side of that, somebody who has a very empowered, positive, they will see the couple kissing in the corner. They'll see two people laughing. They'll see two people dancing, because we get what we look for. We get what we expect. We see what we unconsciously choose to see because of the perspective that we look through. But what I'm really wanting to get to talk about is that we have to view our conditioning as a gift. Because here's the thing. So personally, from my own point of view, I have had the plethora of different experiences with money. Lots of different experiences, lots of negative ones, lots and lots of very negative experiences. I've also had some incredible experiences. But here's the thing. Up until very recently, even when really good things started to happen in my financial life, the lens I looked through, the perspective I had around money caused me to behave in a way around it that caused me more problem. Does that make sense? So because my lens, my perspective was, for example, the most obvious one was, I better enjoy this while it lasts, because it won't last. And this can still happen today. Like, I am in a much better position than I used to be in regards to how I think, I feel, and I behave around money. That does not mean, and this is me, absolute brutal honesty, this does not mean that there aren't months, like this month has been really challenging. The MOT fucking failed. £1,600 that we had to pay. We had to find. Because we don't have credit cards, because of the hangover of all the mistakes that I made. So there is and we've had a big conversation about other things and moving things, you know, this whole journey that I am on has littered with negative experiences, littered with it. But my journey here, and the reason that I love to talk about it so much, is because all these challenges, the gift I find in all these challenges is experience, is wisdom and empathy. Because everybody that joins in my money program, and the money program that I run is about how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. The behavioral part is delivered by a guy called Jason, who's my Profit First coach. But the way I think, the way I feel, 95% of the time is empowered, regardless of how many zeros or non-zeros are in my bank account, right? So that journey, for me to be energetically where I am, mentally where I am, regardless of what's happening around me, compared to what I used to be like, which was bury your head in the sand, feel very depressed about it, get very low about it, let it affect every relationship I ever had, let it be the sole cause of most arguments that I would ever have with my ex-partner, like to the point where when I started seeing Mark 13, 14 years ago, I used to stutter when I used to say the word money, because I couldn't get it out my mouth, because when I said the word money, it usually ended up in a very horrible argument. So I would like this talk, and I don't have a stammer. My husband used to. So that was the impact of the conditioning that I had around that. So, but the way that you get to be around your conditioning. So let's just bring this a bit more general. So when you look at your desires and what you want to achieve, what is your predominant thought around them? What are your predominant thoughts? Is it, I can do this, this is inevitable, I'm on this journey, I'm loving the journey? Or is it, I can't do that, it'll never happen for me, it's all right for her, it'll work for them but not for me? Like, what's the predominant voice? Because our thoughts are so powerful. And changing those thoughts is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But it starts with, that's why for me PQ is super powerful, because it is actually the process of changing your mind on a neurological level, on a neuropathway level, on using neuroplasticity in your head, using that amazing brain that we've got to change our mind, literally, not figuratively. So when we look at the predominant thoughts, what we have, the first step is noticing the thoughts, because most of the time, I think the statistic is something like we have, I'm not going to say the statistic because I'm going to be making it up, but there's a fuck ton of thoughts every day. I will get the real statistic. And like 85% of them are habitual, meaning that we think the same thing about the same situation over and over and over and over again. And so when the process of alchemizing our experience of something is, first of all, being conscious enough to witness the thoughts that we are thinking. The next stage to that is witnessing the thought and questioning it, saying, is this true? Or is this my conditioning? Is this everything that's been passed down to me through my experiences, through my culture, and when it comes to money and success and wealth and anything to do with that, your thoughts have been given to you. So conditioning, what's the definition? Did I write it down? It's a really cool definition. Hang on a minute, let me find it. Give me a second. Did I write it down? No, I'll find it and I'll put it in the group. But like, if we think of conditioning as thoughts, attitudes, beliefs that were given to you by somebody else. They were given to you by your family, the people that brought you up, the main people that you were around, the culture in which you were brought up in, the area, the narrative of the area that you were brought up in, everything that you think from a very young age is given to you by somebody else. And so when we think about we think about disempowerment is a disconnection from your sovereignty. It's a disconnection from the truth of your capabilities and your potential as a human being. Because let's face it, right? That we are all, born naked and loving it. We come into this beautiful world, this crazy beautiful world. And the thing is, right, here's the thing. No matter what's going on in the world, and there are some fucking horrific things going on in the world, I still believe the world is a beautiful place. That's a choice. A lot of the conversations I've been hearing recently are the view that the world's going to shit, that everything's going to be ruined, that How does it serve us as a species to feel that way? Because the thing is that, and this is my issue with mainstream media, yes, we need to know what's going on in the world, of course we do. But for every, for this 5 or 6 horrific things that are happening, there's a billion beautiful things that we don't get to hear about. I actually follow a account on Instagram called Your Positive News. I highly recommend you follow it. It's just loads of beautiful pieces of stories about people, amazing things that people have done. Like we've got to have a harmony between those two things. So sorry, that was just a bit of a sidetrack, but there's an example of, do we look through an empowered lens or do we look through a disempowered lens? Does it serve us to think that way? And that's a really good question to ask. When you look at this, like if you go, I'll put some questions to ask yourself on this subject. And I'm going to get to why your conditioning is a good thing in a minute. But when you go through all the things that you say to yourself, the things that you feel, the beliefs that you have, the question always should be, does this serve me? Does this contribute to me living and becoming the truest, most expressed version of myself? Does it serve me to feel that way? Does it serve me to think that way about this circumstance, person, event, whatever it is? And if the answer to that question is no, then it's your responsibility to change it. Because the world only gets to be a better place. The quote, be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to see more peace in the world, be more peaceful. If you want to see a less judgmental world, be less judgmental. Because the thing is, everything has to start from us. Everything starts from you've got to be it. You can't just want it and wish for it and expect everybody else to do it. You've got to be it. And so when we look at, there's a really great quote that come to me from my network marketing days, like years and years ago. And the quote was, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I use better in the loosest sense of the word because you're all fucking fabulous as you are and we're all perfect as we are. But my point is that when we're looking to strive towards our desires, it's not an easy path. Like I spoke about last week, alignment isn't easy. It's simple. It's follow the things that light you up, follow your desires, follow the breadcrumbs of your desire towards that vision that you have for your life. That's not an easy path. It's much easier to sit and settle. So much easier. Well, I don't think it is really, but it would, on the surface of things, it's easier. There's less effort involved. There's less fear involved. Keeping yourself safe and in a box there's less fear. And fear's scary, obviously. But learning to walk with it and walk through it, like I spoke about last week. If you didn't see that one, go watch that one. So yeah, alignment isn't easy. But here's the thing. I also believe that everything that's come in your path, 99% of things that have come into your path, because there's always the one thing. There's always the one thing that somebody says, well, hang on a minute. Hi, Laura too. Hang on a minute, like what can, and I'm going to go there actually, I'm going to talk about that. So I'm just going to mention that to give you my perspective on it. Is that when I think about the worst thing that's ever happened to me, well, the worst thing that's ever happened to me that's caused me the most sadness was obviously losing my friend Michelle. I'd never experienced grief before like it or since. I'd never lost anybody. So it was a new experience for me. I was also in South Africa when it happened, so I felt very alone and very far away. And and everyone says, well, there can't be a gift and opportunity in that. And of course there isn't a gift and opportunity in the fact that she's not here. I would trade anything, and everybody would trade anything to have her here. But what I can take from that, and she would be absolutely elated to hear me say this, because we talked about it before she passed away, is that it gave me the gift, and if you've been around me long enough, you've heard me say this before, it gave me the gift of gratitude to really understand what that means, to not just say it, for not to be just a journal with the fucking word gratitude on the front of it. It's not that. It's on such a deep level that every inhale of breath that I take is a fucking gift. And so that lesson was the most painful. I learned that lesson in the most painful way, but that's a gift I can take from that horrific situation, is that every day and every breath is a gift because I'm alive. And while ever I'm alive, I will keep moving towards the things that bring joy to my life and the experiences that I want to have while I'm here, because life's short. And so the journey of going is half the fun for me. It's half, I've got very comfortable with the journey, quote unquote. So even though it was such a horrific situation, I am going to find something in there that I've taken from that serves me and that serves the world, because it allows me to have that perspective to speak to you about, and maybe you think, oh yeah, okay, that's right, that does make sense. Like, that's the impact thing, that's the legacy of this amazing woman that came into my life, was in it for 5.5 years, and then tragically had to leave it. But that experience of that whole friendship gave me so much joy and so much beauty and so much love. How can I not be grateful for that? Despite how it ended. So here's why your conditioning is a gift. Because if, like we talked about, you have to be here for both sides. You have to be here for both ends of the stick. So if you're on this planet and your desires have been given to you, and you accept that and believe that and go, yeah, there is that gold thread that I talked about last week. There's that gold thread between me and my human experience and the vision I have for my life. And I'm being pulled in the direction of that through me being connected to what lights me up, what excites me, what brings me joy, what makes me smile. Like, that's how I make my decisions as a generator in my human design. And I make decisions that way. I don't use my head as much as I used to. I use what feels good. And sometimes that can feel like it's taking me in all these different directions. But when I think about it, every part of that and everything I'm pulled is part of the journey. It's part of the whole, right? So if you're here and available for that, you're also got to be here and available for the things that your journey has put in front of you in order for you to overcome, for you to learn from, to gain wisdom from, to gain experience from, to gain awareness from, to build resilience from. Because the reason people end up stuck and stagnant and settle is because they've not grounded themselves in the courage to go for it. To look, to go, do you know what? Yes, I shouldn't. I was brought up here. This was my family experience. These are all the things that happened to me. These are all the reasons why I can't do that. That's a choice. Or we say, despite those things, I go anyway. That's our choice. And everybody has that choice. And so the reason your conditioning is there for you, because if you think about that, life happens for you, not to you. That comes back to that very queen and warrior energy, and that very queen, warrior, empowered, feminine energy is, this is happening. If this is, and this is a quote I got from actually one of my old coaches and mentors, Melanie. It's like, if life's happening for me, then now what? What do I do with this? What do I do with this really challenging situation? What do I do with it? Now what? What can I gain from it? What can I glean from it? What are the lessons? What's the wisdom? What's the lesson here for me? And sometimes you have to learn that lesson more than once. I have. There's another great quote says, the universe will keep teaching you the lesson until you start acting like you've learned it. And for me, that means until you start acting in alignment with a different identity. That's a big journey for me. Like, has been a big journey for me on the money front. Because you can have all the thoughts in the world. Here's the thing. You know, everything I do is talk about mind, emotions, energetics, action, aligned action. The action is the missing piece from most things. You have to actually be and do and move in a direction of this new identity. What that looks like in a micro form is, oh fuck, I used to think that. Now I don't. And now I don't think that, I now feel this way. And because I think and feel this way, I am now acting differently. I am making a different move. I am stepping in a different direction to this direction I would always walk. And when you think about that on an unconscious level, metaphorically, it's like, you know, I don't know if you commute to work or have ever commuted to work. So I used to commute when I worked in central London. I used to commute from South London. I'd get on the train from my station to Victoria. I'd get off at Victoria. I'd go down the tube. I'd get the Central line to Oxford Circus, Victoria line to Central Circus, to Oxford Circus, then get the Central line from Oxford Circus to White City. I used to be able to do that, get to work, and not even remember getting there. And it's so funny. I mean, I've not lived in London for 13, 14 years, but if we recently was down and we were going that similar way, and it just automatically, I didn't even have to look up to which tunnel to turn down, to which direction, because I just knew it. My body knew it unconsciously. Have you ever driven? Hey, Laura. Have you ever driven somewhere and just like, fuck, I can't remember driving? When I used to sing, so I was in a semi-professional choir for 10 years, and we used to have these songs called fish and chip songs. Now, when I joined that choir, I was 12 and I was in the training choir for about a few months, and then I went up to big choir. And when I went up to big choir, I had to learn, hey girl, I had to learn 95 different songs in 11 different languages in 3 weeks. No joke. No joke. And not just the language, you know, there was Japanese, Germans, fucking Italian, Spanish, everything, all these different languages. And I had to learn the lyrics without music. We weren't allowed any music ever. I had to learn what the song meant. And I remember sitting in my bedroom, a young girl, young teenager, rocking, just rocking at the concentration levels. I was given massive tapes, all these tapes with all the songs on, the music, the lyrics, learn them word for word, 95 different songs, 11 different languages in 3 weeks. And I did it, right? The point was, we used to get these fish and chip songs. So we'd be Royal Albert Hall. We were Sainsbury's Choir of the World, like Sainsbury's Choir of the Year 3 years in a row. We were Choir of the World in Japan. We were fucking good, right? And there'd be songs, German, big long German pieces, and you'd get to the end of the song and you'd be like, did I sing that? Because your mind was completely somewhere else, thinking about what you were having for tea, thinking about what you were doing the next day, and the words and the lyrics and the song would just be coming out in a different language, and your mouth was moving and that was the right words, but my mind would be somewhere else. So if you think about that in the context of that, is that change happens when you start. So the tube ride, the song, all the examples that I've given from my own life, that when you've been doing something for so long, don't talk about me finding it hard to learn the French national anthem. Yeah, babes, it was a lot. I can still remember most of it. It's why I'm amazing at remembering song lyrics. I only have to hear a song a couple of times and I'll remember the melody and the lyric, most of the lyrics. Like, it's just a skill I've developed. So, hi, Helen. So when we think about the contents of that, your entire life, you have been thinking, feeling, behaving habitually in every single area. And your conditioning has given you the perspective of how you do that, how you think, how you feel, how you behave is through the lens of your own perspective based on your conditioning. And so if this conditioning is a gift, and you get to the point in your awareness or in your adult life where you go, this isn't really fucking working for me. Like, I want this. And this is one of the major things, like owning that you want that is a major step. Owning the fact that you want that. I desire it. I own it. I decree it. in the queen energy, in the warrior energy. I decree it. I don't fucking apologize for the fact that this is the life that I want to live. Owning that took me a long time, because we're not designed, we're not conditioned as women to do that. Oh, it's okay. This is all right. I'm all right. I'm fine. I'll just have the burnt toast. No. You have the nice slice. I'll have the burnt one. I wouldn't do that, actually. I hate burnt toast. But the point, you get my point. So we've been conditioned to be that way. And so when you own the fact that actually, no, fuck that, I want this, dealing with that is a process in itself. But when you can get to the point where you're grounded in that desire, and then you go to, right, what's everything in my human experience that says I can't have that? And then using this, as I was talking about those who have joined late, I've been talking about human design alchemy. So I'm just doing my assessment on Thursday, and it's just blowing my mind, like this whole process of alchemizing. And it's the mind piece, it's the thoughts and the embodiment piece, and then the actions. So we're just talking about the action piece is the missing piece. So when we look at the tube story, we look at, it's like me not being on autopilot in your life is going, okay, 99 times out of 100, I've gone this way. I'm going to start to go this way. Feels fucking uncomfortable. We're not always going to do it on the first go. We're not going to stay consistent in that first go. Look at every diet you've ever been on. Look at every workout plan you've started. Look at everything new you've tried to do. It feels uncomfortable because it requires a different thought, because you can't do new things with running the same program. You can't do it. You've got to, in order to move in a new direction, it's an internal job. You have to think differently. You've got to feel differently, repeatedly, consistently over time. But then the action piece is where the pedal, the rubber hits the road. Because the minute you have experience, the minute you have actually played the thoughts and the feelings out in the real world, evidence. Because everything that you've ever done before in the filing cabinet of your mind is that, no, this is what we do now, because your brain goes, no, this is what we do. When we think this, so it might be somebody that really pisses you off, or somebody you've had a problem with your entire life since school, and you see that person, the minute you see that person, you think a certain thought, you feel a certain fear, and your body does a certain thing. Every single time. And so to change that, we have to think differently. So when we talked earlier about, being the change you want to see, to quote, is it Gandhi that? Is it Gandhi? Be the change you want. Laura will know. Be the change you want to see. So if we're riddled by judgment, we have to look at our own judgment. We have to change the way we think. Really good book to read on that is Judgment Detox by Gabrielle Bernstein. But the action piece is where we collect the evidence, because we've got a fuck ton of evidence. So I've got 5 filing cabinets in my head about all the times I messed up around money, all the times I made stupid decisions, all the times I made decisions from a place of lack and scarcity and fear and bravado and ego. Made loads of decisions from that place. Got loads of evidence of that. Making decisions from a new place of abundance. I've got less evidence, but I'm building it. But the only way that you get the evidence is by doing the thing. You have to externalize the internal shift. Because you can think and fucking feel all you like, but if you don't act in alignment with that, you're never getting the momentum. Like, you're never getting the rubber to the road. You're not gaining that evidence to see that shift. Because we can think about it all day long. Fuck. Done that. I need to do this. I'm going to do this. I really have to do that, whatever it is. Fill in the blank. Like, the real change happens when you think it, you feel it, and then you fucking do it. And you move in the direction of that. And I think this is where that harmony between the masculine and the feminine, the empowered masculine and the empowered feminine, the harmony between your queen and your warrior, and those two beautiful things, but also knowing that when we activate those two things, we invite the other side. And you've got to be there for it. You've got to be there for it. Because we're not, like there's this concept, I think, with a lot of people that once you've changed, have you seen these bubbles? Like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how you do it, but all of a sudden they'll just appear and you can't recreate it. It's so annoying. So, you know, the thing that I see a lot is that everyone thinks a lot. Everyone's so much in their head, but they almost, there's a thing that happens in our brain. I know it because I've fucking done it. There's something that happens in our brain when we go, oh my God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that. And because our brain doesn't know the difference between real and fake, it plays the scene out. So we see the vision, and tell me that you've not done this, right? Because it can't just be me. You visualize the vision and it feels so good. And then it comes to putting the rubber to the road and we back off because we fear the judgment or the change or the success or the whatever. And so we never really get off the ground. We can create the feeling, we can create the vision, but unless we take that final piece, that final bit of aligned action in the real world. So this goes way back to my 1 foot in the ground, 1 foot in the universe thing. Be in the universe. See the vision all day bloody long if you want to. Feel the feels, but you have to do something. You have to move in the direction of it. And somebody, in fact, it was Nessima in the money program, you know, recently she's been having some really big shifts, like noticing changes in the way she thinks, in the way she behaves, in the way she feels. And she was like, it feels weird. I'm like, of course it feels weird. Because for the entirety of your life beforehand, you've been thinking, feeling, and behaving in one certain way. Now you're thinking and feeling and behaving in a different way. And of course it's going to feel weird because it's new. But the longer, yes, like I was going mad. Not going mad. Connected to your truth. Connected to a different perspective, seeing life, situations, real life, tangible moments through a different lens is liberating. But of course it feels weird because it's not normal. So it's about creating a new normal. So this all comes down to my belief and purpose is about identity shift. And that doesn't mean becoming a different person because the person you aren't isn't good enough. It's about, is this current identity that I operate in serving me? Is this identity that I live in going to produce the life that I desire? And if it's not, everything within that is a gift because the contrast, the resistance is the things that I have to work on, is and I don't even want to say heal because everything is perfect. This is my whole point. If you think about your conditioning as a gift, then it's not something that needs quote unquote healing. Now we're not talking about, you know, trauma and there's a place for everything. And sorry, babes, it was weirdly liberating though, like a weird weight lifted off my shoulders or shedding a layer. Yeah, 100%, because that's what, thank you for that. That's what conditioning is. It's just the layers. And if you think about that, the visual that I always get that is like, if you think about, you know, naked and loving it, coming into this human experience, and then we put, and this is a Brené Brown reference I've just remembered, you know, and slowly over time we put the armor on. And the older we get and the longer that we carry the armor, it gets fucking heavy. And when the little, you know, I've got like a knight in my mind, you know, when the little visor opens up and we can see the vision and we're like, shit, this armor weighs a ton. So we start peeling off the armor, we start peeling off the layers, and that takes courage and vulnerability and strength and time and connection and purpose and all the things that disarm us, enabling us to get back to that naked self, like to get back to that sovereignty that is the pure, potent power and potential that we are as a human being and as a woman, right? So I hope that, I'm going to wrap it up now because I've been nearly an hour. I hope that I'm going to put some questions in the group for you to question. But if we look at your whole self as a beautiful gift, all the strengths, the vision that you've been given, you've been blessed with, and if you don't know what that is yet, that's okay too. But if you're in a group like this, there's something in you that once more, there's something about you that knows deep down that there is something not being quite, I know, an itch not quite being scratched. And so if this feels like, I don't know what this is, start to explore it. You know, you've watched this live for a reason, and you're in this group for a reason. Start to explore what does that actually look like? Can you own it? Can you say it out loud? You don't have to say it out loud to everybody, by the way. Be very, be wary of who you share your dreams with. Make sure somebody who trusts, loves, and accepts you fully, and that isn't going to criticize or question. So be careful about that. But find somebody you trust and share it. Like, say it out loud to somebody else, to another human being. And if you want to say it out loud to me, or in fact, I would highly recommend you say it in this group, because you will not be judged for it. So it's like owning what you want, owning your desire, saying, this is what I desire. This is what I desire, and own it. Like, see how that feels first, and then look at yourself as a whole being. What are the things that, I mean, this is an entire course. This is the work, and this is like, you're not going to get all this done in 1 minute. But the point is that I start asking the right questions. You want a better life, ask better questions. Start asking different questions. Seeing what parts of you, what gifts your life is showing you, what gifts your conditioning is showing you, the things that you have to alchemize and recondition and change, alchemize. Yeah? Okay. So I just wanted to get away from this. Conditioning is bad. It's negative. It's not. Because everything that's happened to me has made me the person I am today, and that's a gift. And everything that's happened to you is the same. How can you look through it a different lens? There is actually, my program, if you've never even looked at this before, I have a program called Revolution, which is the first program I ever did. I'm in the process at the moment of getting all those programs, but they're all on my website actually. Getting those programs, some entry points, some like little value pieces for you to look at that subject specifically. But Revolution was about revolutionizing your story, telling your story, how you tell it now, and all the reasons why you've taken out of it that you can't be, do, or have what you want, and then rewriting that story so it empowers you. That was the first program I ever did, like 6 years ago, 2017, 18 maybe. It's like 18, 19, no, I can't do the math. A while ago. But that's the first program. If that's something that interests you, and this work that interests you, and that you really wanted to look at that as a very basic level, then let me know and I can send you the details of that. But yeah, this is a process, but looking at yourself as a whole, beautiful, everything is perfect being. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Nothing is wrong. Nothing needs fixing. Everything is there for you to move through and use it for you to become more empowered, more connected to your queen energy, back into your sovereignty, back into the person that you were designed to be, and all the potential that holds. So, okay, I'm going to go now, so I'm rambling. All right, loves, I love you. I will see you very soon. See you next Monday. Any questions, any thoughts? If you're watching on the replay, let me know. I will put some questions in for you to start asking yourself some good questions. Yeah, and that's it. Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.